Dear learners, welcome to the Engineering Chemistry course, the e-lecture series of Green Chemistry. In today's video lecture, we will discuss about the principles of green chemistry. But before going to today's lecture, just have the recap of the previous lecture. In previous lecture, we discussed the principles of green chemistry, in which the seventh principle, eighth principle, and ninth principle was discussed in detail. Now, in today's lecture, we will continue the topic principles of green chemistry, in which the 10th, 11th, and 12th principle of green chemistry will be discussed in the detail. The 10th principle of green chemistry is the design for degradation. 11th principle of green chemistry is the real-time analysis for pollution prevention. And the 12th principle of green chemistry is inherently safer chemistry for the accident prevention. So let us begin with the 10th principle of green chemistry, that is design for degradation. Basically, this 10th principle is emphasizes that chemical products should be designed so that after their intended use, they break down into harmless, non-toxic substances. These breakdown products should not persist in the environment or cause long-term pollution. So basically, what is the 10th principle of green chemistry? It basically focuses on the degradation, safe degradation of the chemical products. So the key idea for the design for degradation, that means 10th principle of green chemistry, is the chemicals should naturally degrade into simple, non-harmful molecules such as water, carbon dioxide, and the biomass. So, this degradation should occur under the natural environmental conditions such as sunlight, microbes, air, and the moisture. So, basically, the main concept is the products of any chemical reaction should be such that it can degrade in the natural environment easily. Natural environment includes normal sunlight, normal microbes present in the soil, air, and the moisture. Similarly, the second main key idea behind the design for degradation is to avoid accumulation of chemicals in soil, water, and the living organisms. So basically, it helps to prevent long-term environmental problems such as the bioaccumulation and the biomagnification. So basically, two things are there in the design for degradation 10th principle of green chemistry. First is the chemical product should be naturally degradable. Second, we must avoid the accumulation of any chemicals in the soil, water, and the living organisms. So basically, these two are the basic idea for the design for degradation. Now, why we are discussing this 10th principle? Why it matters? Basically, it reduces the environmental pollution caused by the persistent chemicals, example, plastic, pesticides, etc. Secondly, it protects our ecosystem, plants, animals, and the human health. It minimizes waste treatment needs and cleanup costs because it focuses on the easily degradable chemical product. So the waste treatment needs minimizes, and it also supports the sustainability and environmental protection goals. So these are the points through which we can understand that why the 10th principle of green chemistry matters. Okay. Now, the importance of implementing the 10th principle, as we just now discussed that why this principle matters. So, it again, the emphasization on the points to prevent the environment. So, what are the key points which are important for the implementation of the 10th principle of green chemistry. So let us discuss. First is it prevents the environmental pollution. Why? Because the degradable chemical do not accumulate in the soil, water or air, which reduces the long-term pollution. Secondly, it protects health. Why? Because it focuses on the minimization of bioaccumulation of toxic substances in the food chain. So, it protects the human and the animals. Third, it supports the ecosystem stability because it reduces ecological stress and helps to maintain healthy ecosystem. Similarly, it reduces waste issues. Why? Because naturally degrading products lower the need for landfills, incineration, and the complex waste treatment. That is why the waste treatment issues minimizes. And it promotes the sustainability because it encourages safe chemical design that supports long-term environmental protection and resource conservation. So these are the importance for implementation of the 10th principle of green chemistry, that is the degradation design for the degradation. So basically, if we design chemicals such that they degrade in environment easily, so we can save our environment and we promote the sustainability also. Now, how we can implement the 10th principle of green chemistry? So the basic points by which we can implement this principle is, first, introducing biodegradable functional groups. So chemists can incorporate functional groups like esters, amides and carbonyls that are easily broken down by the microbes or the water. So the chemist one must design the chemical products which includes ester, amides and carbonyl like group, so that these products can be biodegraded easily. Second one is the avoiding persistent structure. While designing the chemical, we should avoid highly stable molecules such as the halogenated organic compounds, PFAS, long chain polymers, because these are the stable compounds and these cannot degrade easily in the environment. Thirdly, designing for photodegradation. What is the photodegradation? That means degradation with the help of the sunlight. So the chemical, if designed such that they can easily degrade in sunlight, so they are the photodegradable chemicals. So adding groups that break down under the sunlight can ensure the product degrade in open environment in presence of the sunlight. So we must add such functional group which can break down in presence of sunlight. So by this way, we can also implement the 10th principle of the green chemistry. Next is the using natural building blocks. What is this? This is that the material derived from the renewable biological sources such as the plant-based monomers, these can degrade more easily in the natural system. So basically, what this principle focuses on to incorporate the functional groups which can easily degradable, which can degrade in presence of sunlight and which can formulate by the plant-based materials, so that these chemical products can easily degraded in the environment and these cannot be accumulated in the nature. Now, looking some examples through which we can understand the 10th principle of green chemistry. First is the biodegradable plastic. The biodegradable plastic such as the polylactic acid PLA. It is made from the corn starch, that is the plant-based product. So after use, it break down into water and carbon dioxide instead of persistent microplastic. So if we use biodegradable plastic such as PLA, so these cannot generate microplastics in the nature. Why? Because it can easily degrade in the environment and converted into water and the carbon dioxide. So we can use the biodegradable plastic, and this biodegradable plastic formation is the basically the 10th principle of the green chemistry. Now, second example is the eco-friendly detergents. Some detergents are designed with easily biodegradable surfactant. After washing, the microbes break down them easily and they don't harm rivers and the aquatic life. So instead of traditional detergents, we can use the eco-friendly detergents. Third example of the following of the 10th principle is photodegradation packaging. Certain plastics are made to break down in sunlight, reducing the long-term litter. That means these packaging material, when discarded in the environment, these can, after some time, these plastic packaging products can easily degraded in the presence of the sunlight. So we can use photodegradable packaging material. Next is the biodegradable pesticides. Example, pyrethrin, which is derived from the chrysanthemum flowers, break down quickly in soil and sunlight, reducing environmental persistence. So these biodegradable pesticides, when used, they can kill the pest in the plants or in the vegetables. But these pesticides can easily, quickly degrade in the environment, in natural environment. Next example is the compostable food containers. These containers are made from the plant fibers or the biodegradable polymers. And after their disposal, microorganisms convert them into non-toxic compost. So basically, these type of containers can easily used and they can degrade in environment easily. So we can use such type of containers, and use of these containers is actually the 10th principle of the green chemistry. Now, the 11th principle of green chemistry, which is the real-time analysis for pollution prevention. Real-time analysis for pollution prevention. What it says that by using real-time analysis, chemists can stop pollution before it occurs instead of dealing with it after the reaction is finished. So during the course of the reaction, we can monitor and we can control the pollution. So basically, the 11th principle of green chemistry emphasizes real-time monitoring and control of chemical processes to prevent the formation of hazardous substances in the chemical reaction. Using tools like spectroscopy, sensors, chromatography, chemists can detect problems during the reaction and take immediate corrective actions to prevent the pollution. So this reduces waste, it improves safety and ensures cleaner and more efficient chemical production. So this is the 11th principle of green chemistry. Now, why it is important to implement the 11th principle? Because it prevents pollution by detecting problems during the reaction. So when reaction is taking place, we can control the pollution. It improves the safety by catching the hazardous chemicals or the hazards early during the course of reaction. It reduces waste and save the resources. It ensures better product quality and efficiency because real time measurement or analysis, we can easily predict the any hazard if it may possible, so we can stop timely that hazard. Now, how we can implement the 11th principle of the green chemistry, that is real-time analysis for the pollution prevention. So basically, to implement the 11th principle, we can use real-time sensors such as pH sensor, temperature sensor, pressure sensor to monitor the reaction continuously. We can apply inline analytical tool such as IR, UV visible spectroscopy, NMR spectroscopy to track the reaction progress without stopping the process. We can install automatic control systems that adjust reaction conditions immediately if something goes wrong. Similarly, we can use continuous emission monitoring in factories to detect and reduce the harmful gases emission directly in the environment. It integrate We may integrate computerized data system to analyze results instantly and guide safer and cleaner operations. So these are the some tools or some techniques or some methods by which we can implement the 11th principle of green chemistry, which state the real-time analysis for should be done for the prevention of the pollution. Now, some examples of 11th principle of green chemistry. First is the real-time sensors that detect chemical leaks immediately. In factories, install sensors that instantly detect gas or chemical leaks, by which we can stop the process before pollution escape into the environment. Because timely, if we can detect the leakage, we can stop it timely. So this can only be happen by 24/7 monitoring through the sensors. Second one is the real-time monitoring of pH in wastewater. A wastewater treatment plant uses continuous pH sensor. Why? Because we must know that the water which is to be discarded must not contain harmful pollutants. So, if the water becomes too acidic or basic, the system adjusts automatically to avoid releasing harmful effluents by measuring the pH through the pH sensors. So, we can avoid the water pollution by this way. Thirdly, the continuous monitoring of the air emissions. The power plants and the manufacturing facilities use online monitors to measure sulfur oxides, nitrogen oxides, or particulate matter concentration in the real time. So, if levels rise, the equipment automatically slows or the shutdown. So, by 24/7 real time monitoring, we can stop the emission of the harmful substances in the environment directly by stopping the process. Now moving towards the 12th principle of green chemistry, that is inherently safer chemistry for accident prevention. What it says, the 12th principle of green chemistry promotes inherently safety by design, ensuring the chemical processes are not only efficient and sustainable but also safer for workers, communities, and the environment also. By eliminating hazard rather than managing them, accident prevention becomes an integral part of the chemical innovation. So basically, the 12th principle of green chemistry focuses on the inherently safe chemicals or the safe chemistry. So this principle focus on designing chemical products and processes that reduce the risk of accidents such as explosions, fire, chemical spill, or the toxic exposures. Basically, it encourages chemists to choose material and reaction conditions that are inherently less dangerous, not just controlled by the safety equipment. So basically, this principle focuses on the use of safer chemicals and use of safe chemical processes or the chemical reaction or chemical techniques. So, why this principle is important? Because it prevents industrial accidents. Because if we use safer chemicals or the safer chemical path, the industrial accident can be prevented. It reduces harm to workers and communities because we are using the safe chemicals which are less harmful. Save money and safety equipment and insurance. It helps industries comply with the safety and environmental regulations, and it protect the environment from the accidental release of chemicals into directly into the environment. So how this principle can be implemented? So implementation of the 12th principle. First, use less hazardous chemicals. In the chemical processes, we can replace toxic, flammable, or explosive reagent with the safer alternative for the implementation of the 12th principle. Second, operate at safer conditions. Conduct reactions at ambient temperature and pressure and avoid extreme conditions that increase the risk. Third, minimize quantity of hazardous substances. If it is not avoidable to use some chemical which is hazardous, so try to use its minimum quantity to carry out the reaction. Fourth, use safer solvents and the reaction medium. We can replace volatile organic solvent with the water, supercritical carbon dioxide, and ionic liquid to reduce the fire or inhalation risks. Similarly, we can also implement by design chemicals with lower toxicity. Develop products that are effective but less harmful to human and the environment. Lastly, by avoiding unstable or reactive intermediates, we can modify the reaction pathways to eliminate dangerous intermediates, develop products that are effective but less harmful to human and the environment. So these are some key points by which the 12th principle of green chemistry can be implemented. Now some examples for the 12th principle. First is the using water-based paint instead of organic solvent-based paints. Water-based paints are less flammable and produce fewer harmful fumes, making the painting process safer for student, environment, and the workers. So we can use water-based paint, which is the comparatively safer chemical. Second example is the conducting reaction on a small scale. Using tiny amounts of chemicals in test tubes instead of the large quantity in beakers reduces the risk of spills, explosion, toxic exposure, and the pollution. So if we carry out reaction with the 10 ml, so same reaction, same titration, we can carry it out with the 2 ml also. What benefit by carry out this titration in 2 ml? That after completion of the titration process, the chemical which spill out in the sink as a waste are in the less amount. So when these chemicals are discarded in the water bodies or the drainage, so less pollution they can cause. Thirdly, wearing proper safety gear and the using fume hoods for the volatile chemicals. Even simple steps like goggles, gloves, and working under a fume hood prevent accidents and the exposure and ensure safer lab practices. So by using these practices, we can implement the 12th principle of green chemistry. Now, in today's lecture, we discuss the 10th, 11th, and 12th principle. Now, let us look at an example to increase our understanding of all these three principles. So, for example, we want to make or manufacture or produce natural pH indicator in the chemistry lab. So, the object for this experiment is that we want to understand the 10th, 11th, and 12th principle. So, for example, for formation of the natural pH indicator, we can use beetroot or red cabbage. So, the material used are the red cabbage or the beetroot, water, small test tube, vinegar, or the baking soda, right? Now, steps to formation of this pH indicator. So, extract the natural dye by boiling red cabbage or beetroot in the water. This is the simple process. The red cabbage or beetroot is crushed in the water and start to be boiling. So, principle 10 comes here, that is design for degradation. We know that the pH indicator is formed by the plant based product, that is the red cabbage or the beetroot. So this dye is natural and biodegradable, so it won't pollute the water. So this is the use of safe chemical which can be easily degraded. So this is the 10th principle. So using the bio-based product or the plant product is the 10th principle of green chemistry. Now, second step is the test pH by adding vinegar or baking soda to a small portion of the extract. So this is the 11th principle of green chemistry. Student can immediately see color change indicating acidity or basicity. This is the in-process monitoring. So during the course of process, we are measuring the pH. So this is the real-time analysis, and real-time analysis is the part of the 11th principle of green chemistry. So this is the 11th principle of green chemistry. Now, third step is use dilute solution instead of the concentrated acids or the base. So this minimizes the risk of the accident. So by using diluted substances for the manufacturing, we can follow the 12th principle of the green chemistry. So basically, the real-time chemical changes monitoring is the 11th principle. Safe biodegradable natural chemicals are used. This is the 10th principle. And safe lab practices with the diluted solution is the 12th principle of the green chemistry. So by taking this one example, we can easily understand all these three principles: 10th, 11th, and 12th. What is the 10th principle? This is the use of biodegradable natural chemicals such as the red cabbage and the beetroot. What is the 11th principle? That is the real-time chemical changes monitoring by pH monitoring. We can frame out this 11th principle. And what is the 12th principle? Use of safe lab practices with minimal hazard. So by using diluted solution, we can follow the 12th principle of the green chemistry. So now, time for the learning check. Please read the question displayed on your screen and think about this. So question is, which of the following is an example of designing chemicals to degrade after use? Option A, using plastics that last for hundreds of years. Option B, using biodegradable soap and detergents. C, using heavy metals in pesticides. D, using non-degradable synthetic dyes. So it is very easy question. I hope you can easily frame out its answer. Yes, you are correct. Option B is the correct. That is the using biodegradable soap and detergents. So that's all for the today's video lecture. For more such videos, please like and subscribe the channel Dr. Rakhi Khandelwal.